All right, talking about Davis Mills, Texans fall the Broncos 16-9. Davis Mills has been bad. There's really no sugarcoating it. He's been bad. He's actually been awful. And the most frustrating thing is the other two phases have been really, really good, and you're not really expecting Davis Mills to be that great. When you say they need good quarterback play, usually you're talking about going from, I don't know, Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson, or going from Drew Lock to Russell Wilson or something like that, like one of those types of upgrades. That's not what we're talking about with Davis Mills. You just need competent quarterback play. That's the most important piece of evaluation this year. That's the most important thing that the Texans are going to need. And at this point, you should at the worst be 1-0-1, but Davis Mills has been bad. It's easy to say he's been bad, but let's just back it up with stats. Davis Mills on Sunday was 19 of 38. And I presented these stats on Sports Radio 610 today. You can hear the podcast, fire up the Odyssey app. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, like the video and go ahead and give me a subscription if you don't mind. It's going to be daily content. We'll keep it going here. But how bad has Davis Mills been? So he was 19 of 38 on Sunday. 50% or less of his of passes completed. Let's just go through 2015 up to Deshaun Watson and just put in perspective how bad that performance is, how bad it is to complete 50% or less of your passes. Brian Hoyer did it twice. He did it 2 times in all of 2015, completing 50% or lower of his passes. The 2 games, one was the massacre against the Miami Dolphins, in which everyone wanted Bill O'Brien fired. I remember Nick Wright, who used to sit in the chair that I sit in. He said this is going to be the moment they're all fired. It was one of the worst performances in Texans history, probably the worst one of the BOB era, if you talk about just the overall embarrassment. And then the other one was against Kansas City in the playoffs, when most of us feel that he was probably concussed. So that's how bad that is. Those 2 examples from Brian Hoyer. We go to 2016, the very next year, Brock Osweiler. Brock Osweiler, as bad as he was, he only completed 50% or less of his passes 1 time. And that was probably his worst performance of the year. That was against the Minnesota Vikings. I believe the score was 31-13. And then let's go to Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson did it twice in his entire tenure as Texans quarterback. One of them was week 1 of 2018. He was facing the New England Patriots in New England, one of the best defenses in the game, and he was coming off a torn ACL, less than 50% of his passes. The other one, and we remember this one, this was where the legend of Deshaun Watson kind of picked up. It was in Jacksonville. Remember the game where he had to take a bus to the game because he was so banged up? Probably shouldn't even been playing. I guess it was a spleen, ribs, whatever. He had to take a bus. That was the only other time that Deshaun Watson completed 50% or lower of his passes. So Hoyer, the massacre in Miami, and the Chiefs game where he was concussed. Brock Osweiler just 1 time. And then Deshaun Watson 2 times. 1 time against the New England Patriots when he was coming back from a torn ACL, one of the best defenses in the game. And the other time when he was hurt and had to take a bus to the game. That's bad. That's really bad. Here's some more numbers to show how bad Mills has been. And these are from DJ Bieneme of ESPN.com, covers the Texans out here, a friend of mine, used to cover the Jets. Mills in the 4th quarter, 5 for 16 for 75 yards. And really, if you think about that, it actually could be a lot worse. The game against the Indianapolis Colts where he throws it behind Brandon Cooks, if Cooks doesn't, if that interception gets caught by Stephon Gilmore, man, we're looking at this completely different. And we're not even in a situation where we're even talking about Lovie Smith punting for the tie, because that game's over. He's completed 36% of his passes over 10 yards. I told you this the second that we were at training camp. We were at every single camp. We saw every single practice. The deep ball is a problem. I think we were probably the first ones to say it, myself and John Lopez, who you hear Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610. The deep ball is a problem. 36% of his passes over 10 yards. That's 3rd worst in the NFL. He has a 56% completion percentage. That's 29th in the NFL. His QBR is 30.1. That's 29th in the NFL. And it's natural for a lot of people. It's natural for some of us to go, well, the offensive line sucks. No quarterback could perform behind this offensive line. He doesn't have all day to throw. He doesn't have enough time to throw. We've become used to saying that. And I actually saw it on the text line today a lot when we were doing the show. But could I interest you in a stat? He's been under pressure on 28% of his dropbacks. This stat is from Texans Cap. Shout out to Texans Cap. Cap and Trade podcast on Twitter Spaces every Wednesday, 9 p.m. I join Cap and we interact with the Twitter community. 28% of his dropbacks. That's tied for 8th fewest in the league. So the Texans are in the top 25 percentile when it comes to protecting Davis Mills and giving him time to throw. And despite that, all the numbers I just listed, that's how bad Davis Mills has been. I don't say all that to say, I'm out on Davis Mills. I say all that to say he's been bad. Like, he's been bad. There's no denying how bad Davis Mills has been. He's been bad. Like, even if you had Brian Hoyer or Brock Osweiler, you would have at least won one game at this point. He has to be better. And he's getting time to throw the rock, which might be the most troubling thing. He seems to have confidence, though, which is good. He thinks that everything's been decent right now. He says the effort's been decent, which is cool. But I would disagree, and I think the numbers don't back that up in the very least. Facebook user says, we're out on Mills. By the way, the Facebook comments sometimes don't show up when I'm streaming live on YouTube. But whoever you are, appreciate you for interacting, spread the word, subscribe. All that type of stuff. My man, Sam Raj, the legend, he says Pep Hamilton needs to include more passing play routes for Dameon Pierce coming out of the backfield, maybe. But the other problem is how worn out is Dameon Pierce. How much do you want Dameon Pierce to carry the load? Because I don't dispute that Dameon Pierce should get the majority of the carries. I'm not disputing that. But he had 15 carries on Sunday, and that's the third time in 4+ years of football that he's gotten 15 or more carries. So I'm not saying he's capable. I'm just saying that you should at least, I don't think we can expect, I'm hearing people say, and I'm seeing people say, at Landry Locker on Twitter, at Landry Locker on Instagram, I'm hearing people say, well, you need to give him the ball more. Really? I mean, what do you want to do? You want to Earl Campbell him? Like, do you want to go Bum Phillips and give him the ball 40 times? Is that realistic to expect Dameon Pierce to do that? The biggest problem I have, and it's a perfect transition, is the Rex Burkhead situation. I'm just as frustrated that Rex Burkhead got no carries on Sunday as I was when he got 19 touches. Now, let me explain this. I don't want you to misunderstand me. I think it's an absolute shame that with everyone healthy, Rex Burkhead got 19 touches. I think that's embarrassing. I think Lovie Smith agrees. The head coach agrees. The head coach said there's no excuse for that. And that's why we saw Dameon Pierce get more carries. But the very next week, you have Dameon Pierce getting 15 and Rex Burkhead getting 0. Which is the appropriate workload. But if your backup running back and the second best running back on your roster can't get a carry in a game like that, a one-possession game where you led for the majority of it and you were always within striking distance, then what does that say about you? What does that say about your roster building? We're talking about the running back position. You can find backup running backs that can carry the load. You're telling me that your backup running back, and again, it might be appropriate, but he can only carry the ball 0 times? I mean, look on the other side of things. They were bitching about how little they were running the ball in Denver. Williams got 15 carries, and then Melvin Gordon, who I believe has had 8 touchdowns in 6 NFL seasons, he got 10 carries and was the backup. Indianapolis has Naheem Hines. The Jacksonville Jaguars have Travis Etienne and James Robinson. I mean, you're all around the league. There's someone who can come in there and take 5 carries from you. But you're telling me that Rex Burkhead, the second best running back on your roster, isn't even worthy of carrying the rock? That's pretty troubling. I mean, that's pretty troubling. That's a big indictment on Nick Caserio, and it's also a big indictment on the coaching staff that you were so extreme from one week to the other, something that we all knew, that it got to that point. My man JT says, do we really need to give Mills 17 games to just prove he isn't the guy? At what point do we start looking towards the future? I mean, I don't think you can look toward the future during the season. So, yeah, you do evaluate Davis Mills. I think he's more of looking at the future than the other guys on the roster. Now, if you want to win immediately and he continues to play like this, that's going to be another issue, especially if he keeps playing like this. Facebook user says Mills has an accuracy problem. How many times have we seen him throw the ball in the dirt in front of an open receiver? That's fair. Another Facebook user brings up Chubb and Hunt. Yes, there's backup running backs all over the league. Like, then the future isn't on the roster. There's backup running backs all over the league. Like, if Dameon Pierce doesn't carry the load a lot and Rex Burkhead, you can't even give him a carry in this, that's an indictment. That's a very bad look for Nick Caserio. It's a bad look for the coaching staff, as is the Justin Britt situation. I'm convinced he's retiring because Lovie Smith called him the starting center again today. I don't see how they could have watched how much better the backup was, Quessenberry, and still call Justin Britt the starting center. This almost seems like a guy's going to retire and walk away, although Lovie's been really weird about this. I think he needs to be careful. My dog's not happy about this. I think he needs to be careful and crazy ass Pacey barking. She's not happy with Lovie either. But you've got to figure this out, this Justin Britt thing, because you're looking bad. Like, you're looking bad. Last Friday, you're going to have an announcement. Then today, you get kind of snappy and sarcastic on it. Lovey's got to be better on that. The Justin Britt situation and the Rex Burkhead situation, just embarrassing. Like, not good job by Nick Caserio at all. And I want to know whose idea it was last week to have Rex Burkhead touch the ball 19 times, and now all of a sudden he can't even touch the ball at all. Can't even get a carry, which is fine, which is what it should have been like. But you also should have taken the running back position serious and put yourself in position to where it's not Dameon Pierce and then all downhill from there. Dameon Pierce was a 4th-round pick. What the hell would you be doing if someone had taken Dameon Pierce before you? I mean, would we be rolling with Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead? That's bad. And that's something that they need to look into. Positives. We will get into some positives here about the Texans. And I'm going to lay out some optimism for the next couple of weeks that I think many of you will like. Let's start with the defensive backs. The DBs. Dog's crazy. I'm live, so I can't edit that. The defensive backs have been good. Stingley had some welcome to the NFL moments yesterday, but Derek Stingley was fine. He was up for the challenge after the long pass interference, which I don't think was a penalty. He battled Sutton a couple of times on the goal line. The 3rd and 16 got away from him. There was a struggle. There was either a miscommunication or a mistake on his part. It's going to happen, whether it's Deion Sanders, whether it's Aeneas Williams, just name any awesome cornerback. They're going to struggle as a rookie, especially when they haven't played ball in a couple of years. So it's going to happen. Steven Nelson's been very good. He had the pass breakup yesterday on Judy. Judy ended up leaving the game. The corners have been very good. You can put some comments in. I'll get to those on the back end. But positive number 1, the defensive backs. Positive number 2, the defense as a whole. You have to judge them by personnel. I think they are going to have problems stopping the run all season. There's not a lot of beef up there, but the defense has been good. Like, the defense has done a very, very good job holding up. They've allowed 18 points per game through 2. They've played good enough to win. Special teams has played good enough to win. The offense has not. Although positive on the offense, I didn't even have this on the list, the pass blocking. 8th most time in the NFL Davis Mills has had. 8th fewest pressures Davis Mills has had. That's a salute to the offensive line. You're giving Davis Mills plenty of time. Davis Mills just isn't capitalizing. Dameon Pierce, he's been good. He runs violent. I do worry about that workload. I like the 15, 20 carries, but you got to get someone behind him that can carry the load as well. But Dameon Pierce, the next positive, and this is the most important one. And this is the optimism. If you're not optimism about the Texans right now, this is the most optimistic thing when it comes to the short term. You're in a raggedy ass division. It is a rough AFC South. This is going to be closer to the Bill O'Brien 9-7 AFC South than what we've seen in the last couple of years, where the Titans were the 1 seed. You saw the Texans and Colts win double-digit games. That's not where the AFC South is right now. And just look at where we are right now. The Indianapolis Colts are 0-1-1. They just got shut out. Jacksonville is 1-1. They're in first place. They're the only team with a win. And the Texans are sitting at 0-1-1. And as we are live right now, the Tennessee Titans are getting ready to face the Buffalo Bills. Don't know how many people are going to pick the Titans to beat the Bills. Spoiler alert, I'm not. I'm chalking them. I'm assuming that they're going to be 0-2, although it is the NFL, and it's been a wacky, wacky week in the NFL. So we'll the possibility of them coming back and winning, hell, it could happen. But I'm not going to bet on it. Look at the week after that, and I have it right here. Week 3, let's pretend that Tennessee loses to Buffalo. They're facing Las Vegas the next week. Las Vegas right now 0-2. They're going to be desperate for a win. The early line is out. Las Vegas is going to be a favorite at Tennessee. So Tennessee could easily be 0-3 after this week. Kansas City goes to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is 0-2 right now. They just got shut out. They probably should have lost to the Texans. They escaped with a tie. Is anyone, raise your hand if you're picking the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Indianapolis Colts? Okay, didn't think so. So Indianapolis could very well be 0-3. Then the Jags are going to the Chargers. Now, Justin Herbert, he's got the bruised rib. Jacksonville, I think they're a lot better than people give them credit for. But Jacksonville, they're going to Los Angeles to beat the Chargers. Does anyone think that the Jags are going to win? Is anyone going to pick the Jags? Okay, let's pretend that they don't win. So they fall to 1-2. So you're looking at an 0-3 Tennessee, an 0-3 Indianapolis, and a 1-2 Jacksonville. Again, this is a dream scenario, but this is also the chalk. They're all underdogs this week to really, really good teams outside of Las Vegas. Las Vegas hasn't been that good, but a lot of people think Las Vegas could be at least a playoff team. Kansas City is a popular Super Bowl pick, and then the Chargers, they're right up there with Kansas City, and they got a hell of a defense. Texans are going to face the Bears. So let's pretend that the Texans beat the Bears. That puts the Texans at 1-1-1. They would be tied for first in the division with the Jacksonville Jaguars, assuming that they lose to the Chargers. So you look at the Jags, that's 1-1-1, Texans 1-1-1, and then you have Tennessee and Indianapolis at 0-3. Okay, so let's go to week 4. Tennessee and Indianapolis play each other. So one of those teams is going to be winless, and one of those teams is going to be 1-3. Jags are at Philly. Philadelphia, very good team. They're going to be playing tonight as well. Philadelphia is a good squad. Philadelphia is a tough place to play. Who knows what happens there? Let's just pretend the Jags lose. That puts them at 1-3. So the Texans would be 1-1-1, and they would face the Chargers. Probably going to be a loss unless maybe Herbert gets banged up or whatever, but I'm not going to be unrealistic and give the Texans a win over the Chargers. They can't even beat a crappy Denver team that's trying to give them a game. So who am I kidding? So that would put the Texans at 1-2-1, assuming that they beat Jacksonville, or assuming that they beat the Bears. That would put them right there in the mix in the AFC South. And that's how bad this division is. And that's why you need to take advantage of opportunities like that. So if you're looking for optimism, the defensive backs, the defense, Pierce, raggedy ass division, and the state of the AFC South. I'll dive into this tomorrow on Sports Radio 610 on In the Loop. John McClain is going to join us at 11 o'clock. We'll have McClain. We'll always keep it on his toes. And then we'll also talk to Michael Jenkins and look ahead at these props coming up at 120 presented by BetQL. But that's the positive side. I'll get into the comments and then I'll get out of here. But if you do look at that, you look at these next 2 weeks, it's pretty wild. There is reason for optimism. Facebook user, if you can't stop the run, you can't play good defense. I'm struggling with your view defending the Texans defense. We haven't even faced great running backs yet, and they couldn't stop them. I'm judging them based on what I've seen this season so far, the last two. I've said this 100 times, and I said it on the air today. Colts 0-2-1, not 0-3. I handed them a loss, but yeah, 0-2-1, not 0-3. You know what I'm saying? So they would be a game back of the Texans. If you can't stop the run, you can't play good defense. I'm struggling with your view defending the Texans defense. I'm judging them based on personnel. I think with the personnel they have, they've held up pretty nicely. And when you're giving up 18 points per game, the Texans have played as good as you could possibly expect them to play up to this point. I think they've been fine. They've been pretty good in the red zone. So up to this point, yes. Moving forward, do I think they're going to hold up and be able to stop the run? Probably not. The Colts 0-2-1. You're absolutely correct. Nick, do you think the Texans win less games this year? I don't. Although if they don't beat Chicago, then that could get really interesting very quickly. Someone agrees with Nick. Am I the only one who knows why Mills' passes were sailing out of bounds or short? Well, he isn't used to the altitude in Denver. Damn you. You know I hate altitude stuff. That must be a Sports Radio 610 listener. Then JT, the rate they're going to be surprised if they win any games. Well, then we'll be talking about Bryce Young, 100%. If the Texans go 0-17, that means Davis Mills continues to play bad. And that maybe we're talking about Will Anderson, but we're talking about Will Anderson or Bryce Young. So I guess that would be a win-win, although 0-17 would stink. Davis Mills has some of the worst pocket presence I have ever seen. I agree. There's been a lot of happy feet there. And then a Facebook user, where's Christian Harris? KG Hill runs a 6.6 40. KGH leaves it out there. But yeah, he's struggling. Christian Harris has to miss at least 4 weeks and then he'll be back. I hope that him and Wallow can help defending out of the linebacker position because KGH was really rough and it's only going to get tougher for the Texans. But up to this point, those are the positives. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, go ahead and press a like as well. I'm doing the basic request for that. I'll be back at it again. My 41 Acres podcast is back as well. Don't get me started on why I didn't get to do that. I don't want to say too much, but RIP to Day Day, the podcast that had Vince Young, Ramonce Taylor, Brian Robinson, Eric Metcalf, the president, Chris Del Conte. It's back. Finally, had to take a few years off. Rest in peace to Day Day. So subscribe to that as well. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow at 10 a.m. Appreciate everyone for coming in. TRC saying what a lot of people have been saying. Davis Mills ain't it. There's been a lot of people saying that. Final comment real quick. Drafting Bryce Young will set us back 5 years. CJ Stroud is my choice. No, thank you. I'm out on CJ Stroud. I don't think CJ Stroud's close to the quarterback that Bryce is. Not even close. I don't think it's even a contest, but we can debate that at another time. All right. Subscribe. See y'all. Talk to y'all later. Fire up the Odyssey app, Sports Radio 610 in the loop tomorrow. We'll look ahead to Chicago and we'll get into some more stuff as stuff goes on. Continue doing the post-game show. Appreciate everyone for participating. Talk to y'all.